if you are seeing this, I won. Hi, it's Nani, and welcome to Chronicles of Nani. It's my cyber coffee shop where I talk about living with progressive MS and in a wheelchair. I don't even stand, much less walk. But I keep it optimistic. If you are dealing with a chronic illness or in a wheelchair, this is definitely someplace you want to subscribe to, someplace that you want to keep up on. If you are optimistic no matter what, or if you want to be optimistic no matter what, this is a good place to stay. It's some place where we can all learn to take the high road and be as happy as we possibly can. Because it's my cyber coffee shop, I always have coffee. So today's coffee, which is in my Railroad Herald coffee mug. I have lots of train coffee mugs. And it really goes well with a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today. The coffee today is Cheerwine, which our friend Steve in Tennessee is our hero who brought us a few cases of Cheerwine because he can get it and it's a little bit easier to find and less expensive in Tennessee than it is in Ohio. It's something that's become one of our favorite cherry sodas to enjoy. So Steve definitely was the hero at the beginning of the show. I really wanted to go to Summer Rail. David's show, Cancel All Plans, How I Foamed the Pandemic, was edited by me. I had always thought that I would love to be a presenter at Summer Rail. I wanted my train photography to get good enough to be asked to do a show for Summer Rail. MS made sure that I never quite got there. But my background as a producer, project manager, pretty much the same thing, and an editor, is because I'm still strangely not comfortable with editing and seeing my own face. But I never wanted to be a household name. I always wanted to be a household name to the household names. That's where I was striving. I didn't want everybody in the world to know me. I wanted to be known by everybody that everyone in the world knew. So I didn't get to be a presenter at Summer Rail. I still got my name on that big screen in the huge theater. My doctor okayed me going, so long as I had, for an indoor event, so long as I had a face mask with a filter on it, because I am immunocompromised. And kudos go out getting that started. I did some searching on Etsy, and I found AngieBCo's store, which is frankly a tomboy's paradise. Because there's all kinds of stuff, all kinds of trains to choose from. There's some baseball stuff on there, and just sort of, oh my God, I could buy 1,000,000 masks and have something different every day. And as I start on my number 2 list and start to get things organized so that I can get out of the house a little more often and I need more masks, I may be going back and looking at getting a couple more of those wonderful tomboy masks, because that fits me so well. So I got to wear the mask that I wanted out of all of the train masks, and there were a few of them that I really liked. But there was one I really wanted, and I wanted a Union Pacific yellow engine in the middle of the mask. And I asked her, can you, out of this wonderful fabric that had a few different trains on it, can you center that one in the middle of my mask? And she said, yes, I can do that for you. And she just did a fantastic job. So it was fantastic to be able to go to the show, to see my husband's work on the big screen. David is a fantastic photographer, and I love editing his stuff. And I got to see my name on the big screen. And I got to bask in the glory of listening to people talk about how great his show was. The animation, and that there were places that were funny, and he did a great job of covering everything that he did to foam, which is rail fan for take pictures, the pandemic. And as they're raving about what a great job he did, I just sat there in my wheelchair very proudly, knowing that part of what made it such a great show was the editing work that I did. And as a matter of fact, he made a point of telling people that my editing work was important in completing the show, and actually made a point of telling me that my work was good. And that feels great to hear. So I got to go to the show, and when we took a dinner break, and we were backing in to a spot so my wheelchair could get out and I could go into dinner, we hit the back of the curb. Not thinking it was that big a deal, because you do that when you park and you back in a lot. We got out of the car, we went in to meet our friends for dinner. We left dinner and got back in the car to go back to the theater. And the muffler, which was already sounding bad, sounded worse. And then we hit a bump in the road where it sounded like something fell and we were dragging something. And the muffler got louder. And our goal at that point, because David's show was the second to the end, there were 4 more shows, his was the 3rd show. So we were going to limp back to the parking lot and go back in and see the rest of the shows, and he was going to call AAA immediately after the shows were done, which he did do. And while he was on the phone with AAA, I was engrossed in a conversation about the accessibility spots that were available, with the gentleman that was there in a using a walker. And I gave him one of the business cards, and I hope he's getting a chance to watch and see what we do on Chronicles of Nani, and especially talking about getting things all wrapped up and actually getting to go to Summer Rail, because that was a huge deal to me. And that was my list one on my priorities. Was I wanted to make sure that I could go to the show, and I did. Now, David came in and whisked me off because AAA was coming in. They were going to be able to tow the car back to Toledo. The unfortunate problem is they couldn't tow the car with me still in it, and there was no way to get me back to Toledo. Rail fans to the rescue. And this is where Steve became another one of the great heroes. We had several rail fans that were at the show that were not going to leave us stuck with no way to get home. And that knew a little bit more about putting together things falling off a car than David did. They were actually getting under the car and taking a look at it, and had suggested to David, okay, pull up with your front tires on the curb so we have a little bit more space. And found out that the entire exhaust system was falling. And it would be a very loud trip, but if they could just somehow get it attached back, hanging off the car to get us home, that then we could get it repaired once we got home. When the tow truck, because David never canceled the tow truck, came in, he was able to lift the van higher. And one of the hero group of rail fans that stuck around to help us had wire coat hangers in his car. And they spent some time tearing apart those coat hangers and using them to hold the exhaust system onto the bottom of the van. And we were able to get home. Loud trip home, but we made it home. And the car is still parked because we didn't want to. We parked it on the street so that we weren't waking up the entire neighborhood. We basically dropped me off at the end of the driveway, and David parked the car and pushed me up the ramp because it had been raining a little bit. So it was slippery, and I'm going up the ramp and my wheels are spinning, but we got me in the house. And that was good because my doctor was coming in the next day. And things worked out okay. Now, how is it that this is Plan D? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
When a crisis hits, close to home and across the globe, nonprofits are on the front lines, ready to serve, healing, nurturing, rescuing, protecting, inspiring. The work of philanthropic organizations has never been more important, and it's donors and volunteers like you who make all this possible. Thank you. The Nonprofit Alliance.
Separating my priorities into 3 lists was a good idea. I got list 1 done and was able to go to Summer Rail, which was fantastic. But list 2 were the priorities, the things that needed done. One of the things on that list was the recliner that you most often see me recording from, which I'm not in right now has been having some problems, and I needed to make the call to get the back of that chair fixed. There were things that went on that I was going to record on Saturday that got delayed. Sunday, that also got delayed. Monday, my husband actually worked on Monday to take a different day off this week. And Monday afternoon was going to be my recording day. That didn't quite work out, so I planned, all right, Tuesday morning for sure. But Monday night was when the back got me all the way back, and it quit working. I mean, it was totally done. It wouldn't come back up. So, having gone through plan B and plan B and plan B, now it was time to come up with plan C. I spent Monday night sleeping in the wheelchair, and it was my plan on Tuesday that since I wasn't going to be in the recliner, that I would set things up with the computer on the bed, and I could put the bed all the way up and pull the wheelchair up to the bed, and I could record on the bed with the kitchen behind me. That would be an interesting, different look. Unfortunately, when I got that all tried out and everything set up, and I gave it a try, it didn't work. I couldn't actually reach the buttons on the computer or the mouse, and the angle was such that I looked a lot worse than I do right now. So now I had to come up with plan D. Plan D was that when David got home on Tuesday night, he would put me in the bed, and I would be able to, in the morning, tape, and then I would have all day Wednesday that I could work on editing. Well, it's Wednesday evening because I ended up sleeping in the wheelchair on Tuesday night, and I couldn't get moved back until lunchtime on Wednesday, which was a little bit later than originally planned. This is after they had come in, taken a look at the chair, and there were parts that they needed. It's still not working. And David's going to be out of town. So my dad is coming in tomorrow afternoon. And I'm going to need to be put back in the wheelchair to sleep in the wheelchair yet again, because my dad uses the bed to sleep in when he spends the night. So it really is something that I'm recording now. This is plan D. And I'm recording now, and I'm getting this done, and I am getting it done. And I will edit as much of the night as I need to. And that way I can upload this before my friend Dale comes in tomorrow to give me the first full bed bath I've had in about 2 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to that. But then Dale's going to have to put me back in the wheelchair because David will already be gone for overnight. So that Pop has some place to sleep when he's here, taking care of me. So I've got to have everything done and ready to upload in the morning before Dale gets here. So if you are seeing this, I won. It means that I came up with Plan D and I was able to get it finished. So trains and Plan D and success, got it all. So join me for coffee anytime. I'd love to have coffee with you. And thanks for joining me this week. I'll see you next week.